Thank you for the invite.
Thanks for coming.
The might of the intellect that is there on this call can actually force me to compel at any point in time. When it comes to WFM professionals, I mean, what better an attraction of intellect and innovation that can come as a fusion together.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Vineet, for taking. First of all, thank you so much, Vineet, for taking your time out. And I know that we have spent a couple of hours in the last week as well, along with Srividya. It's been a great learning experience. Whenever we talk to you, it's something that, I learn something new. And Vineet is going to talk about the WFM leader as an influencer, the new art and science of leading the change. To talk about Vineet is a known person in the market in APAC and also worldwide. Vineet has been in the industry more than 3 decades, especially in workforce management, more than 22 years of experience. He has worked in companies like Modi Xerox, Amex, eFunds, IBM Dutch, Accenture, Reliance Communication, First Source, and IBM now Concentrix. IBM Dutch is now Concentrix, Vineet has been playing multiple global roles and also has been a thought leader in the organization, guiding the team and also to the leadership team and also the clients. And he has played several roles since last 3 decades. And we always say that in India, we call Vineet as like one of the Dronacharyas. So in the WFM industry, a lot of people look up to him, and a lot of knowledge whenever we talk to him. It's something where he shares unconditional love for WFM professionals and very passionate WFM leader. And it's really industry is blessed to have a person like Vineet. And Vineet is featured as one of the top 10 influencers in 2020 global level. And it's really great to have you, Vineet, with us. And you're the right person to talk about the right topic. And people are excited to listen to you. And we have a poll before we start, Vineet, as we discussed. So, we have a poll. Let me quickly get into the poll question before we kickstart so that take that out.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's make some noise.
Yes. All right. So, folks, all of you take a quick look at it, how influential we are in the organization as of now, as a WFM professional. Select one of the followings, nod their heads, 25% of influential. And some of you may think that greater extent influencers, whereas, you see that, already established trust and already an influencer. If you could just click a button, let's go ahead. I see that 26%, 30%. Come on, request all of you to please click the button. Let's see that what all of us feel. This is a very important aspect of it. WFM professional. Yeah, 58% of participants have voted. Closing the poll and sharing the results. Are you able to share the results here, Vineet?
Yes, perfect. So 11% say not there yet. Okay. 32% say they are 25% influential. 42% say they are to a greater extent they are influencers. Wonderful. And about 15% have already established trust. That is awesome. That is awesome. So by and large, 80-20 rule is almost fitting in here as well. 85-15, that's a mix. 15% are already there, 85% are at different stages of being there. So art and science is one part that the session is all about. WFM as an influencer is the other part. Right now, I think all of us are absolutely aware about the disruption that has been witnessed in last 18 months, possibly largest ever the mankind has witnessed. Who knows, maybe the euphoria was similar when the wheel was invented or fire was discovered. Maybe, just guessing, maybe 52,000 BC, which means 54,000 years ago. At least that is what the recorded anthropological history talks about. So all you esteemed WFM professionals, thank you for this opportunity. Thank you for listening to me. And there are some of the perspectives that I'm sharing, which are going to be very different, because you are going to hear a lot of them in a mathematical model, you are going to listen to lot many things from a technological perspective. There are going to be lot many aspects that you will be touching upon with respect to the procedural dimension, process dimension, right? So I think that is what WFM at a base level is all about. It's about work, it's about force, it's about management. And if we were to take a step back and look at the disruption that has happened, here is what McKinsey has to talk about, right? They had surveyed almost about 670 CEOs, and if you go to Google and do some McKinsey research typo there, you'll be able to go to McKinsey Insights. And as you go there, you'll come across a paper which very categorically makes a mention that in last 18 months, 68% of the organizations have got disrupted. 72% of the organization have accelerated their digital journey or their automation journey, uh, which otherwise would have taken them decades. And I think who better than the WFM community to know it the best, right? The supply side or the demand side has been absolutely very well balanced, and there are some great stories of pride that everybody who is there on this call has definitely contributed to in last 18 months. I can write it in my blood and make that statement upfront. Now, what brings across is an important aspect of what is going to be in form of alphabets and letters. You all are absolutely feeling numbers. You are absolutely listening to numbers. You are absolutely seeing numbers. So I'm not going to talk about numbers. I'm going to talk about alphabets. And since I brought in the context of anthropological drive, let me take all of you to a slightly esoteric level. Think of it this way: the biggest form of intelligence that is going to come across by mankind starts at the age of 6 minutes. And if you were to look at human beings, and if you were to look at what comes across from a toddler standpoint, right? A baby is born, and then it evolves into infancy, and from infancy into adult, and then from adult into the whole life cycle from cradle to grave continues. The important aspect that needs to be viewed, the important aspect that needs to be looked at is clearly going to stem from uh, two broad elements. First one, as I talked about, from the time of about 6 minutes is where a baby starts preparing themselves to have the knack and tact of conversation. Note it down. Please do make that note. You have a pen and paper, or you are a digital person, so go into your notes. Please do type in Conversational Intelligence by Judith Clossier. If you haven't read that book, read that book. If you are an Audible person, go and download the book of into Audible and do read it. The reason why I bring that point out is machines are learning. Intelligence has already become artificial, and the learning of machines has gone deeper. So there is deep learning that has happened. There is instrumentation that has got interconnected, and that is generating huge levels and reams of data points. No rocket science out here. There's nothing obvious or beyond the obvious that I'm stating right now. It's a core vanilla fact. What it means is, as an influencer, the first and foremost important attribute is, do we have the communication intelligence and do we have the conversational intelligence? Say yes or yes. So I think uh, if we were to also look at two more broad points, uh, the two alphabets, the first two alphabets is I and N, right? That is where the influencing starts from. And if we were to look at in, look at what is common across, right? So there is income, there is insight, there is intelligence. Anything common coming out so far? Okay, so I think panelists won't be able to speak here. So will they be able to type on a chat window, Shiva?
Yes, they can. They can also,
Okay.
like, if they can raise their hand, they can also ask questions in the
Okay, perfect.
platform. Any of you like to add anything? You could unmute yourself. I mean, you could raise your hand where I will unmute you so that you could share your thoughts.
Perfect. Yeah, I think let's
Okay.
do
I
that
see
for
that,
maybe this.
I see that there's one person, Ritu, as not Ritu,
Okay.
Rich,
Yeah.
Sachin as raise hand. Hi, Sachin. You are unmuted. you could talk now.
Sorry, I had a problem with my headphone. Can you guys hear me now?
Yes.
So, to tell that I'm the beginner in the workforce management field, and this is the first summit.
Let's proceed.
So I'm a starter in this field. So I wanted to ask you, if you could give me, one tip for myself so that I can bring something new in my organization. What it would that be? Because I am an aspiring workforce management who had just started a year ago. So what would be that
Oh,
one
awesome.
tip from?
I will give you many tips throughout the course of conversation. Thank you for bringing that point out. There are 6 that you will carry today.
Thank you.
There are 6 that you will carry. Yes, absolutely. Good. Okay. Perfect. So I think thank you for bringing that point out. So if we were to take a step back, as I was onto 2 alphabets, I and N, which is about the first 2 alphabets of influence as well, right? So what accelerates influence is all going to stem from a core desire of what it means, right? And when we say core desire of what it means is is all about how a person actually perceives, or an organization or a group of people perceive what is being stated, what is being communicated, what is being presented, what is being brought forward, what is being visualized, what is being heard of. I think all these accumulate and generate set of spontaneous triggers which every individual will receive, will perceive, and will be able to process it in their own design and fashion. What is the ultimate objective of influencing? The ultimate objective of influencing is to meet a stated objective of either inspiring people to make a change, or being able to adapt and embrace uh, elements and aspects that are critical, important, and more importantly, they bring in set of elegance and sophistication as an outcome that will be important for uh, us to look at. The influence can be right from childhood days. It starts from family, it starts from schools, it starts from friends, it starts from teachers, it evolves, it starts into interacting with various set of people. But most importantly, influence from an organizational standpoint, from WFM standpoint, comes across on stakeholder management. And if we were to look at what does stakeholder management mean, stakeholder management absolutely means what do you do, and for whom do you do, and most importantly, whatever you do, is that having an impact for whomsoever you are doing? If they have done something, is that having an impact on you? And wherever this exchange happens, that is what a stakeholder is. In oversimplified terms, that is how one needs to look at. IN also starts as the first 2 alphabet of income, right? IN also starts as the first 2 words of intuition. IN starts as a first 2 letters of the word called induction, information, insight, intelligence, induction, invaluable, individuality, right? All those constructs that I'm talking about are actually stepping stone and building stone and bedrock of how influence can be generated. Why should it be important to anybody? It signifies trust. And most importantly, it drives inspiration. There are 2 categories of influencing that can happen. First category is where you perceive it, where influence is by matter of authority. Now, how the authority comes, we'll just come to that aspect. Second aspect is where influencing happens in absence of authority. There is no third way, right? So there is influencing that will happen either in presence of authority or in absence of authority. There's no third way. There's no rocket science in what I'm bringing out. And the barrier to influence will always be coming from inertia, indiscipline, indisposition, infection. I think all those elements. There was a particular teenager who advised me infatuation. So, but anyway, I think that was just on a lighter note. So the alphabets I and N are very important aspects, and they bring in towards trust. There is an outcome that is always going to be the governing factor, and the motive of that governing factor will always be driven by stakeholders, and wherever the stakeholders will come into play, it will also drive a WFM professional, a WFM leader to identify what will it take for a person to evolve into the elegance and sophistication that will get generated here, and that will be undertaken as myriad of inputs and myriad of consolidation or tabulation that can be undertaken for a stakeholder to be involved into. What does it mean, putting it even further into a simplistic word? You have a design, you have a concept, and you have an idea. So all three of them will be an important elements, right? Whether concept comes first and then idea happens, or idea comes first and then concepts are built across, or it is going to be, you have built an idea, you have evolved it into a concept, and then you wanted to take it further into a design stage, and you still go ahead and develop and evolve into additional intelligence and insights. So there is no fixed order, and it can keep on oscillating, and more complex systems are going to be, the more interoperability will be an important aspect for us to look at. So now let me take a step back. I was talking about a McKinsey study. I was talking about last 18 months, we have seen massive disruption that may have happened. I have talked about preparation from an intelligence standpoint comes across on conversation and communication. So what next? So the important question that one needs to look at is, so we have spent some time on what does influence mean. What does influencer mean will also come across from an attribute that I just sort of described. What does it mean to a WFM professional? What it means to a WFM professional is that, can a WFM professional, since we saw the poll which had 85% calling out very clearly, they are not yet there where trust has been attained. They are getting there. We had breakup of 11% and we had breakout of 25%. So 36% clearly are not there, or have just started the journey towards heading towards trust. So the important aspect of influencing would always be, and we touched upon income, right? So that's a greed, that's a motive for non-charitable organizations, and the greed and motive of charitable organizations is also going to be income, but that will be with an underlying layer. For them, there will be a larger purpose and objective of charity, which will have to be sustained and fulfilled by income. So in many ways, if one was to look at it, in the material world that we are in, we are part of, we have evolved from the stage of what Adam Smith had written as wealth of nations, right? So as a community, as a human being, as a race, we have evolved far too much right now. And with the advent of internet and that being available on palm tops, the greed is a clear drive. Now, greed can be for knowledge, greed can be for wisdom, greed can be for power, greed can be for lust, greed can be for wealth, greed can be for wealth of information, right? So multitude level of greed will continue to operate, and that is what will continue to drive in inspiration, and that will also continue to drive various levels of motive and motivation. From a WFM professional point of view, we all are, so from a science perspective, I think there is enough and more that everybody knows out here. Can I be a person of influence will stem from the fact, do I have the competence? Am I willing at this time to make an investment to build and develop and foster my competence? We all know that whatever was available 18 months ago has undergone a change. If you were to talk to a fresher who would have graduated, let's say 10 years ago, and if you were to talk to a graduate today, both joining the same set of organization, the level of induction that would have gone for both of them would be absolutely a sea change that you will witness. If you have a doubt, look within your own organizations. I'm sure you all will have an absolute agreement there. If that is not the truth, then trust me, your organization is heading the BlackBerry and Nokia way. So that's a provocative statement that I'm definitely undertaking right now. Now, the competence aspect is an important element. Now, why should there be a level of trust that will come across? The level of trust will always stem from two aspects. First one would be how dependable, how reliable has your output been in the past, and experience has a structure, right? History repeats itself. I think we have been listening to that offbeat aspect multiple times, and all the WFM professionals know it very well when they do the forecasting using time series, when they look at exponential smoothing of multiple curves, when there are type 1 and type 2 errors that are identified and set up when hypothesis has been laid down very clearly. Whether it is a type 1 error or a type 2 error is a clear diagnostic framework that will be a delight for a WFM professional. Now, once when we look at this aspect of integrating the myriad of inputs that we have talked about, the trust will always stem from the aspects of a stakeholder witnessing, experiencing, and please note down, experiencing, witnessing multiple levels of dependability on the predictable outcomes that would have been generated. Right? In the era when automation is going to be there, we are in the third year, right, of third decade of 21st century, right? So I mean the way to sort of look at it is now what may be debatable is whether 2021 is third year or not. I'm saying split it into June and multiple financial years, so it becomes 2.5 from that perspective, and hence we can visualize ourselves into third year. So having said that, I think what is critically most important is as we embark on a journey where our outcomes become very predictable and there is a high level of dependability that people will witness very clearly, there is going to be a trust that is going to be established, and that's a stage where influencing without authority is an absolute delighter. The gentleman who asked me for a tip, I would suggest, please note down, go to Google, read a book. I talked about conversational intelligence. I'm also suggesting another book. Read Challenger Sales Methodology. It's a beautiful book written way back in 2006. There are multiple videos that are available on YouTube. If you are a video person, if you are a hard book person, it will be available on Amazon and Flipkart. And there's also a beautiful book called um, Atomic Habits. And I won't spend much time on Atomic Habits right now on this call, but from a Challenger sales perspective, there are two ways where sales will be effective. Now, sales are the landmark of a influence which even a 2-minute-old baby will always talk about, right? So there is a cry that comes out whenever babies are hungry, right? When they can't speak, that's a modality that will ask them for demanding food and quench the hunger. And that's a first basic instinct that gets intuitively built and developed for human beings. Now, a WFM professional has to extrapolate from historical context to predict future, because history has to repeat itself. So how does the predictable algorithm gets constructed? And we did hear Ian talk about various attributes of how he got various set of refunds and membership points, etc., without even making a call. And the likes. So that was a wonderful case study for all of you to reflect upon. And during the course of the day, there are multiple case studies that you will again be witnessing and listening to. Now, with all of it as a backdrop, very clearly, important aspect that needs to be looked and viewed is, am I building the right level of skill at this stage? Because my past has made my present today, so whatever I do in present is what will shape my future tomorrow. That is at an individual level. At a functional level, which means a WFM as a function, whatever we have got and constructed all this while, is that something that we have been able to set ourselves up by looking at how do we want to reimagine future? and that's a science aspect, right? So intuitively, are we developing the apt and knack for looking at imagination as a power that we want to undertake? And I would very strongly urge all of us to think of it this way. I mean, we all know what is a forecasting, scheduling discipline, capacity planning as a discipline. We all know what does reporting diagnostics undertake. We all know various set of methodologies that will be required for linking one attribute to another attribute and establish coefficients that will be mathematically sensitive and will be interwoven into a stochastic model. And that stochastic models, people here would be knowing about Erlang calculators and the like. So each of those stochastic model, each of those probabilistic models can actually be interwoven in whichever shape and form one wants to look at by utilizing various set of anthropological aspects. What will be the negative if the influencing does not happen? First and foremost, irrelevance has to step in. What may be relevant becomes irrelevant. Now, if one was to look at it, are you stronger than your strongest excuse for not being an influencer? Let me repeat that. Are you stronger than your strongest excuse for not being an influencer? If the answer to that is yes, God help you. If the answer to that is no, welcome to the party. And what that means is every individual can collectively create a synergy, create a momentum. GWFM does not happen overnight, right? Can create synergy, can create that momentum that will inspire the organization, even if you don't have the authority, by looking at data, information, and facts, and by converging them. It's absolutely okay. So what if you have not been heard of? Can you go ahead and first and foremost establish trust? Because if that is not established, fact of the matter is the influence will be based on relationship, and relationship is subjective. Relationship is subjective because and there is a philosophical context as well here, but I will not delve into that. But relationship is subjective when it comes to profit and income as a motive. And non-charitable organizations definitely have to look and focus on that aspect, because if they don't focus, they will become irrelevant, they will become history, they will become Blackias, Blackberries and Nokias. They will become, there are multitude of examples that we can take, right? We don't have any compact existing today, right? It was darling of Nasdaq was not there in those days, but it was darling of Wall Street Exchange. I'm talking 3 decades ago. In Search of Excellence was a book that was written, and there were 30 organizations that were consolidated and constructed and well researched. Each of them were supposed to have been influencing organizations. None of them are in existence, barring maybe IBM and HP as an exception, and Intel as an exception, right? So I think the three of those organizations, maybe 1 or 2 more out of those 30 organizations may be in existence today, right? And obviously, the whole aspect of Jim Collins was to write good to great, right? And good is the biggest enemy of great, is how that book actually comprehends and moves. And fact of the matter is to be an influencer, the pursuit of greatness will always have to be undertaken. And that is the 8th habit propounded by Stephen Covey ages ago. All these aspects are the art dimension of what I have been talking about on influencing. So the question is today, how many of, I mean, why was 85% of the pollers, we had 58% of pollsters. So why did 58% of the population, and 85% of 58% is a substantial number out of that, which is about, let's say, mathematically put, it would be in the range of about 48-49%. So if we were to look at it, 49%, statistically speaking, is a great inferential sample. And 49% of us feel that we are not there at a trust level. What is it that will take for us to move to that trust level? It is just one simple factor. create and establish trust, which means we have to transcend and break that barrier of the human boundary, and that will be there. Some of them could be internal facing, maybe a limiting belief within ourselves. There could be organizational driven limiting beliefs that may be in existence. Question is, can we challenge the status quo? So another set of input that I have is, if we have not challenged the status quo, we will not be influencer, we will not be able to inspire, and if we are not able to inspire, we cannot be influencing without authority. Last point before I open up for questions. Last point is, in the event if we have been able to establish our competence, we've been able to build the competence, we have leveraged data, information, and facts, positioned them, we have established various set of linkages and crafted the storyline, because conversationally we are intelligent. Conversationally, we have acquired the intelligence to challenge, and that is the challenger methodology. And once when we have acquired and built the challenger methodology as a DNA within our own selves, within our team, within our function, it is matter of time when it will be noticed, because the most powerful element which will satisfy anybody's greed, which will satisfy anybody's quench of excellence or drive that will come across from an objective to be met, either at an individual level or at an organizational level or at an industry level. GWFM has been set up to influence at an industry level, and multiple industries is what GWFM is looking at. I mean, at the profile that we are looking here, clearly that is a great example for all of us to look at. So I will sort of pause here and very categorically earmark, if we have not built the competence, if we have not driven the competence to look at conversation as an intelligence form of intelligence, irrelevance is going to come into play. And if there is a barrier to influence, that will always come across from inertia, will come across from indecision, will come across from indiscipline, it will come across from infection, it will come across from our own basic drive of what I have called it, right? Am I stronger than my strongest excuse of not wanting to influence? So I think in summary, that is where it comes into play. Some of the aspects that one may want to look at is model successful people, successful functions, successful teams around you. Look at them, identify, carve them out, find out synergies where the dreams that you are carving out for yourself or for your function. It is important that you are able to establish that link of identifying the dream, identifying the successful stories that have been created and carved out, and reinvent and make it your own. I think that's a first part. Second part is, as an element of vision, has it been able to create an element of inclusivity which has been driven across by looking at data, information, facts that helps fulfill the greed and objective? And once when that has been undertaken, is that going to be elementary matter that can continue to be repeated and shared as established outcomes, because that is what will establish the linkage to dependability. And once when that has happened, very clearly, I mean, go ahead and live your dream. I mean, you are going to be an influencer, and there is going to be an important aspect of defining what is the why of what one wants to undertake. I will pause here. I'm assuming everybody is still awake, and invite any suggestion, any input, any question that comes across.
Thanks, Vineet. Very insightful. And this is a need for the hours, but for WFM leaders and professionals, absolutely. Let me quickly check if there are any questions. I see that in the chat box, they're asking for the books that you're referred. Probably we'll send them across all the books that you're referred, and probably we'll make a list and we'll share it across to all the participants. That's what we could do. You named a lot of books. For a quick few minutes, do we have any questions for Vineet? You can raise your hand here in the hand icon. That would be better that we can have a two-way conversation. Any questions for Vineet? Yeah. Someone was asking, are we referring to only a particular industry or across the industry? For example, in the IT industry, or maybe non-contact center industry, how is that I can create an influential factor in the organization? Is a one question that come into the chat box, Vineet.
Fantastic. Thanks for bringing that point out. It is absolutely industry agnostic. It is absolutely corporate agnostic, right? I mean, if one was to look at it, how do influence happen? And I will not take the example of let's say army kind of setup, which is highly regimented and authority driven. The way to look at it is think of it this way. We have dealt with multitude aspects of corona in last let's say 15-17 months, so to say, right? Technically from January last year to now is where we have been encountering. So the frontline workers in the healthcare sector have been relentlessly working day in, day out, right? So from a healthcare sector point of view, if we were to look at it, completely remove IT, bring an element of infusion of the humane dimension, if one was to look at it, or wellness, illness, conflict, if we could look at it, all the aspects that I have talked about will completely get driven. I mean, today, what is our preparedness that is coming across countries after countries and governments after government? We are setting up a competence building exercise. We are developing competence for people to acquire the skill, and that skill is being imparted and transported for them to start influencing their neighborhood and their community of what it will take to prevent and save themselves. Trust is a foundational factor. I mean, forget all other organizations. Look at your nucleus family, and everything that I've said, force it into your family, force it into your own past, and you'll be able to establish a clear set of link which will inspire you to create multitude of success stories. So small answer, short answer, metaphorically long, is that it is industry agnostic, and very clearly I will continue to harp on the fact if you are the strongest, if you are not stronger than your strongest excuse, then the trust is not going to last and remain. And if trust is not going to last and remain, influence is only going to be short term. So does that sort of resonate, Shiva?
Yes, Vineet, very insightful. In fact, very apt. And who else can talk as far as influential factor is concerned, apart from you? I mean, you're the right person, at the right topic, and we are with the community, and I see that there's a huge takeaway as far as learning is concerned, especially WFM professional has been, as to be an influencer. In fact, we're the first one to talk about it because all the firms I've been seeing that still they have been talking about the tactical challenges and solutions, whereas bringing in thought leadership, especially the this is need for the hour. And if a leader lacks influential part, can't achieve anything in the organization. This is really need for the hour and must have. This is one of the leadership traits that I would say that the WFM leader, a professional.
Absolutely.
That's the gap.
One last word. Just one last word, building on to what Shiva you had suggested, and I remember there was somebody who had just joined in and was in year one. He wanted one takeaway. I am giving you two takeaways. First takeaway, I mean, it's all about building competence, etc. I think I've talked about it. But first takeaway would be, what will you do if you are not afraid of? Right? I think ask yourself that question. Second is, are you challenging yourself to be a better version of yourself than what you were last night? Every day, all the time. I think the competition has to be with self. Are you a better version of yourself than what you were yesterday? I mean, if you have been able to influence yourself by driving, by what will you do if you're not afraid of? And secondly, looking at being your better version of yourself, sky is the limit for you. I think that would be just last pointer that I would want to share, Shiva.
Thanks, Vineet. It's been really great learning and great listening to you, Vineet. Thank you so much for taking your time out. and inspiring the audience in the morning in India timings. And we have a good number of attendees out here. They're really, asking a lot of tactical questions. So what we will do is we'll consolidate all these questions and probably, we'll share it with you and we'll respond to them. And we'll create one white paper on WFM as an influencer. I think this is required to consolidate all the talks that you have given today. I think that need of knowledge or the skill and ability as a leader is essential. Let's create that and publish it very soon. Maybe after the event. Yeah. Great.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm happy to take those questions. Please do send them across. We'll absolutely be happy to take.
Sure.
And thank you.
Vineetji, thanking you is bowing to wisdom. All right. And it's not just for nothing that people look up to you. You have transformed knowledge into influential wisdom. Thank you very much, Vineet. Thank you.
Thank you. And I think all of it is coming from my teams that I have worked across, my stakeholders that I have worked across in last 3+ decades. Everybody of them has been teacher. I am a curious, lifelong learner, and I continue to be inspired by all the questions that comes across by everybody. So thank you so very much. I am all because of all of you. So I think that is how I'll put it. Thank you so very much for the opportunity, GWFM, Shiva and Parthoda. Thank you so very much.
Thanks for that.
God bless you. God bless you.
Looking forward to have your upcoming sessions in the evening. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Thank you so much for taking
Thank
time.
you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.